Hi, Kylie.
Hi. How are you?
Hi.
Oh my gosh. It's
Is
so
this
beautiful.
I'm like trying to get like the lighting because like the sun is like literally creeping up, right? I'm like, I'm trying to move.
I know, but it's like gorgeous. We are getting like our first day of rain here, so it's like beautiful outside, but I can't be outside.
How are you?
I am good. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm
Okay.
just gonna do something really quick and
Okay.
then yeah, and then we should be good to go.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
How ironic is it that I'm literally do you remember when we went to our where we first met in San
Yeah.
Francisco doing well, I'm at Annie's house, which was the
Um,
girl that we were staying at her house that at that
and
time.
she's got like little boys or little kids or
No, she was the one, the apartment that had the bunnies. Remember the bunnies and the birds?
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. So where does she live?
She moved from San Fran over to Grass Valley now, which is where we're at now.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it looks amazing.
Oh, it's so beautiful here. Like I can see why you like are attracted to like, but this to me is like probably what you feel like when you're at home, the fields and the space and the, you
Yes.
know, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just need to find one thing. Oh, where are we? Mm, whatever.
Hmm.
So Clara actually needed to take kind of like she had something kind of going on today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna plug these in too. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Um, yes, so she won't be joining us, but so it'll
Okay.
just be us.
Yay.
And I love, so we just started doing videos a couple times ago, and it's like it's just so fun. It's been amazing, and I absolutely love that you're like sitting with the sun shining and these nice birds because it so ties into like you
Yeah.
and who you are, and it's just amazing. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, I'm so glad to see you.
I know.
So
Me too. It's like a
fill
little
me in. Fill me in. Like, what's going on?
Okay, do you want to fill in like the real deal life? Like,
Well, yeah. We
okay.
don't we don't like flippy flop around, I
Okay,
mean.
yeah, yeah, good. So I left San Diego. It's gonna be a year in June. I like packed my bags, the 2-year relationship, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm doing this, like, let's go. So I closed all or I thought I closed all these chapters, right? My apartment, my independence, my everything. We moved to Florida, and it was like I only got like maybe a week or 2 weeks of like summer of that hot humidity, and then hurricane season came in. And we were in the place in Melbourne Beach where Hurricane Irma was like evacuating our area. So me and the boyfriend stayed behind. He owns a gym, the CrossFit gym. So we stayed behind. After weeks after Hurricane Irma came, his landlord said he had been there in the building for 5 years. And the landlord's like, well, I'm bringing in somebody else that's doing personal training into the facility. And he's like, that's kind of doesn't work with us being our that's kind of competitiveness, don't you think? Oh no, I think it's going to be great. Well, we met the guy. We're like, let's give people opportunity. We met the guy, and the vibe was just not there. He wanted to
Mhm.
take over. He didn't like CrossFit. So I mean, somebody that does not is not aligned with the philosophy, then that's competition. So quickly that unraveled. So we had to find a new place. And unfortunately, it's not a big city. So it's a small beach town. So things are very limited. We had like 30 days to find a new location. And we finally moved in, and we moved into a rock climbing facility, which in my mind, I come from San Diego where everything is very co-op and very open and very receptive to things. So I was like, this is awesome. Like rock climbing, CrossFit, like I mean, yoga, because I was just, they had a 2,000 square foot room. I was like, this is going to be epic. This is exactly what this town needs.
Mhm.
Mm, not so much. It's not as progressive, you know. And my boyfriend had this vision of like an outdoor facility, and like really, I mean, he had the vision. The people just were not captivated by it. So we started losing members. Yoga was, I learned so much in business.
Mm-hmm.
I left my nursing, you know, something that was like my stability and gave me the freedom to flow. I was like, my boyfriend promised me, he's like, when you move here, just take some time off from nursing, focus on your creative aspect. And I was like super creative and throwing everything all at once out. But it was hard putting yourself out there, you know, and not getting receptiveness. That's the hardest part. It's not so much putting yourself out there, it's not receiving anything. And that's the battle, right? It's like our expectation, you know. And then you start to like go into your, am I worth it? Am I this? And I mean, it was like, it unraveled. It literally unraveled pieces of me. The move, it brought back old memories. I left that place after my mom passed away. So that's all I had when I came back. So these old memories, and just, I thought I had healed, you know, I thought I had literally like healed from all that. I had forgiven and passed away, but I think it was dormant. There were still some things that were dormant, and I didn't know this at the time. Now I'm talking about it almost a year later, you know, of the situations I found myself in. You know, I was cohabiting, reliving with my brother. The boyfriend was everything was just so new, and it was like all at the same time. All these changes. So I had to deal with the changes and the struggles as of a relationship with a business, the struggles of my own personal, like, you know, building the business, you know, the old past history that was rising up, all this thing. And I went really dark, really fast, really deep in the winter season. Like November and December and beginning of January was intense. I couldn't understand how I felt. As a matter of fact, I was just reading old like letters that I wrote to myself or to my boyfriend that never got sent to him, you know, like the letting out, pouring out emotions. And I was like, wow, I was dark. And it dawned on me that I was like, it's something so typical of me, because when my mom passed away, I went dark, or I attempted to go dark. My mom just passed away. Like, I thought that was normal. You have to grieve and be dark. But I had to show up for the world. Like, I had to still show up. I had to show up to work. I had to show up for my family, my brother, my sister, everybody. So I had to, you know, deepen that inside and just continue working on life and not deal with the emotions. So I feel like full circle, something like this was brewing within me. And it didn't take me as long as years ago, but now I was able to like honor it and understand it and feel it. Like, I was in it. I would write it. I would absorb it. But it was toxic. I was like, I don't feel good. Like, I'm having to smile at the world, but I don't want to smile at the world, you know? So I was having a hard time finding my, a Florida job with licensure that fitted me, that suited me, that I knew that I had, you know, put all the work in for years now. And the pay was just like I was not going to accept, you know, like there was this battle. I don't know if it was ego. I'm still like battling. Is it ego that doesn't want to let me, you know, go into the nursing because of this low pay? It's the state, it's whatever. But I'm like, no, I deserve better. And then mid-January, I got a contact for like, hey, you know, the flu season had hit in California, and they're like, hey, we need nurses. And I just said yes. Like, I was like, I interviewed. I didn't know whether I was going to get the job or not. I got the job the next day. And then it was like this fear of like, oh my God, I'm going to have to tell. Like, I have to tell the world like what I'm doing. Of course, the boyfriend was already like, he was seeing a shift. He was seeing a change. He would hear the conversations, you know, on the phone and stuff. So he knew. Obviously, he locked up. And it wasn't like he was going to put a stop in front of me. I was trying to make him understand. But if I wasn't understanding myself, he couldn't understand me. You know, so I packed my bags. I feel like I revisited what I did. I don't know what, my mom passed away in 2005. So a couple years back, you know, but it was what I needed. The minute I stepped and I made my first hike, and I just allowed myself away from society, away from the judgment of people. Like, I was like, I was getting the whole, like, from his friends and stuff. Like, first of all, it was his friends, his life, everything, right? I moved everything of mine, and it was like I'm stepping into somebody's world. I felt lost, and I can see how easily women can get lost in that world,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And they lose themselves, and then years go by, and they're like, well, I don't have any girlfriends, and I haven't worked, and you lose your independence. And that's what I continue to fight for. That I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole wild. Like, you definitely need that within yourself. Like, you need to feel so confident in yourself and independent. And it's not that you can't depend on a man, it's just the lack of codependency. Like, you need to be an individual to rise, and together it's like this powerhouse, you know. But as a woman, I started to feel like, oh my gosh, like, he's taking care of me financially. So there was this sense of insecurity for me, which, it's funny because the majority of women are okay staying at home and being the housewifey thing, and that's a choice, but for me, it didn't make me feel good. I didn't feel like I was supporting. I didn't feel like a team. And I would have his friends say, like, oh, you can stay at home and he can do the work, and it irked me. I was like, no, like, I'm more than that, you know so so coming out here, stepping feet on dirt, because in Florida, that was another thing. I didn't have an escape. It was marshland, wetland, beach, and everybody's like, oh, you're in the beach. And I'm like, I realized I'm not a beach girl. And I grew up in Miami, but my sense of beach, maybe my mind in beach is what Miami is, which is the nice cute bikinis with all makeup and high heels, and you go and you day drink and step on boats and yachts and this lavish. Like, the beach I didn't connect to the beach the way that I've connected to the woods and trees and the silence, So out here, it's been like, it's my healing. I can now say hands down, if this was a human experience, this is it. Like, this is what was totally missing. I was just talking to my dad about how, like, even the demographics here of nursing is completely different in the hospital I'm working at. I mean, you're talking about, this is country, there's parts of city, but mostly people in the mountains, and they're like 70, 80 years old. They have to love to be here. It's either you were born here and this is all you know, or you love nature, if not, you'd be out of it. And there is something to be said about their health. Like, people are still sick, but the way that they maintain themselves, like, they're 80 and 90, still walking ambulatory, like, they're like hiking and they're in nature. And it truly is an environmental issue. Like, where you grow and, like, where you're raised, it really has something to do with the way you see life and function.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and even just like being in Mother Earth, it's like it raises your vibration so much. And so just by having the access to open space where it's like not crowded with like other people's energy, it's just like you can be still and you can like feel almost like when you do a cord cutting ceremony and it's like, oh, this is my energy. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. It's actually, you tune in. It's so, you like, literally, there's something that happens. It takes a bit, for you to get into that space of like listening to yourself, to get out of here and to listen internally. Because when you're out and you're on this go, 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 I mean, your mind is constantly going. If you sleep, your mind at one point, unless you're completely REM, which studies show that you're not really in complete REM most of the time, it's only a small visit of your time of sleep. When you're alone, and that's the part that people need to integrate more, that being alone is scary to know in your own thoughts, and then, but when you quiet down, you find that even that sliver of like that silver lining, you have space of like, it's just me, the birds, the sun, and you actually start to like really detail everything around you. It's amazing. It's amazing. It, like, you lose track of time, you lose track of day, you lose everything, and you're like, and you get something in return. It's so hard to explain too, unless you've been there and you've experienced it. It's so hard to explain what you get in return. It's not like, oh, I got lost in a hike, and oh, she's wondering, oh my God, was the hike hard, and this and that. And you're like, you don't understand what comes back. What you're given after that is priceless. Like,
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you are in a healing space. I'm so glad.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
happy to.
well, I hope that was recorded because I might like insert part of that. That
Hmm.
always happens beforehand. I'm like, we haven't even started and the conversation is great. Okay, so I'm gonna go grab some more water.
Okay.
And then I resent you the Google Doc with like I just put some questions on there.
Okay.
Sometimes we follow them, sometimes we totally don't. And
Okay.
I know that this is just gonna be like a flow conversation, so it's gonna be awesome. But I'm gonna do that. I'll be right back, and then we'll get
Okay.
started.
Yay. Awesome. Well, hopefully you have some time after. I want to hear about you.
Oh yeah, I do. I know I was supposed to like jet out and go meet a friend for coffee, and then she had like a work meeting that came up. So I was like, that's fine. I'm gonna actually chat with one of my girlfriends who lives in Denver too.
Oh, cool.
Um, she's kind of going through some stuff, so I was like, well, I'm gonna be in the car at this time, but now maybe we can FaceTime so I can see her. Okay, this is gonna be so awesome. It's so Clara's like, I'm so sad to be missing this. It sounds amazing.
It
You'll
happens
meet
for a
her at
reason.
some
There's like
point.
an intimacy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And honestly, like maybe we can have you back when Clara can be on because you guys will just vibe so much.
Oh, cool.
But a little bit about it. So we do have an intro and an outro.
Mhm.
And so we do just kind of dive in, like I'll just welcome the listeners and then read your bio.
Okay.
And then the next part, we always go into your story. So share as much as you'd like or as little
Okay.
as you like. But our listeners are very much women like us. So they really resonate with the vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we'll just kind of go into talking about like finding your inner wild, what that means to you. And then we'll just like let it flow. This is about you. So
Okay.
talk as much as you want. And I'll just like chime in here and there as needed.
Okay.
And then at the very end, we just ask, what is one thing our listeners can do today to start kind of cultivating that?
Okay.
Swear words are okay. And I don't know, it's going to be great.
Yay. I'm
Okay.
excited.
Yay, me too. So yeah, I feel like it's already it says recording,
It
but
says recording. Yeah. I mean, it's been recording since I was probably messing around with the tables.
was it yeah, I'm wondering if Clara just pushed record.
Because it's definitely
Yeah, recording. All right, we're just going to go with it.
okay.
Please record. Okay. Yeah, she must have it recording.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she jumped on it because it's her account, so she probably jumped on. But
Okay.
all right. So we'll just go cut. We're going. So all right, welcome to the Love Rising, everyone. Today is super special for me because Nye is one of my good friends from kind of tracing back to probably, oh my gosh, like almost 10 years ago.
Yes.
And she's truly just blossomed into, I mean, she's been a beautiful person ever since the day I met her, and we just truly did have a connection. But I just have continued to watch her just grow and continue to step into the light that she is. And she truly is a light in this world. So we're very honored to have her on Love Rising. And I think you guys are going to resonate with her so, so much and just find her story beautiful and inspiring. But just so you guys know a little bit about Nye, she also is known as Gypsy Nye because of her nature to roam the earth. She is passionate self-explorer, writer, visionary, a seeker of the unknown, and a wanderer of all things wild and free. When she is not working in the ER as a nurse, you can find her traveling, road tripping up the coast, climbing mountains, or adventuring amidst Mother Earth. Yoga and nature has provided a safe haven for her to break her heart open. As a natural-born healer, she feels called to guide others into a journey of self-love, letting go, connecting to the rawest and purest beat of our hearts. I just love that. Stripping away our fears and empowering women to break away from their comfort zones to find their wild. So there's so many things that I love about just how she explains herself there, and it's so true. And even more so now that we are doing a video, I love that she's like out in nature. If you guys listen, you can hear the birds. We've been on the call for already like 15, 20 minutes, and I'm just like, it's raining here. Otherwise I'd be outside with her. But it just is so refreshing and so true to her spirit. So welcome, Nye. We are so
Oh,
excited.
thank you so much. I'm so excited. So I have to say, this is my first podcast interview. So this is a blessing. This is a little gift. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there's today really, Nye just like encapsulates this inner wild, and she does a really, she lives her life in such a beautiful way that really shows that wild. And I love the word wild because it really makes me feel like when you think of wild, it's almost like masculine, but she brings this like really beautiful feminine energy and softness to this idea of wild. So I'm really excited to dive in with her today. Clara is out, but will be with us again next week. So Nye, can you just kind of share your story? We always like to start with that and just hear the inspiring story that is yours and how you kind of got to be where you are today.
Yes. It's funny. It takes years for you to revisit a story, which when it's the time when you're going through it, it's not a story. It's like, get me out of this really quick. But here I am. It's been, it's been quite a journey. It started back in 2005. I lost my mom to breast cancer, and I want to say it was a year of knowing but denial, and then it was just a short week that she lasted in the hospital, and it was during the holiday season. So she passed away January 4th of '05, and it really hit home. It was something unpredictable, and nobody's really prepared at 22 to lose their parent. And I was really close to my mom. She was my best friend. She was the woman that would wait for me and after my dates and ask me, so did you kiss him? And she already knew that I had a problem. I would always just be the serial kisser and be like, if he didn't kiss well, then he was not going for a second date. And she just, she really was a very amazing and beautiful woman, if I can only have just a smidge of what she was on this earth. And so I was going through nursing school at the time, and it was hard. It was really hard for me to focus in school. And I'm so grateful for, I didn't tell anybody. My mom passed away and I didn't tell anybody. It was just an immediate, like, only the family knew, but school, I only had one girlfriend that I had told. And I have much respect for her because she kind of found it upon herself to feel completely support my entire journey throughout the rest of the nursing school. Until this day, I feel like she failed OB class with me just so she can take it during the summer with me. I will never know the truth to that. But we both failed it and we had to take it. So I would graduate with somebody. So it was a really hard time. And so I don't think that I knew how to grieve. And, my dad immediately he moved on and started dating a woman probably within a few months after my mom passed away. My brother was in the military. I had a younger sister who was 8 years younger than me. So I overnight, I literally went from 22 to 45. And I got myself in my mom's shoes, and I started to be housewife and mother and daughter and sister. And I had all these roles that I was unprepared for. And it just took it on, and continued doing my nursing. And I hit a wall. I definitely hit a wall. Probably it's about a year after. I mean, I think my walls, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I definitely remember just kind of going against everybody and being very fiery and being very like, what's the word? Just, I guess, very mean. I turned very mean, and I started partying. So I found an outlet at that time. I found an outlet. I partied and did the wild thing, which, when you think of the word wild, right? There's many people think it's either, like you said, masculine or wild. You're out partying, the short dress, getting crazy, and well, that's the part of the wild that I kind of discovered. And it took me about a summer. It was a summer of complete diving into this wild nightlife and dark path. I won't forget, I woke up one morning, which was probably a few hours after seeing the sunrise, and seeing these bags under my eyes, a reflection in my mirror, and just a small voice in my head. Don't remember quite if it was my mom's. I couldn't really tell, but it said, "This is not you." And ever since that, I started making shifts in changing my life. I signed up and I said, I'm leaving, I'm moving. And so I moved to the West Coast. I planned everything and I moved in '08. Packed my bags, 2 big garbage bags, shipped out my car. I didn't know anybody. And it was the very first time. I never went away to college. So it was my very first time away from home. And I was at 24 at this point. So it was a whole new world for me, but it was the best. I felt like I was able to breathe. It was like the first breath of life. I was able to breathe, and I started to connect and hear myself and not be judged around with my choices, because I definitely had a hard time even disconnecting from the family. They thought that I was abandoning them by leaving. I was the woman that took over my mom's role. So it was very hard. I was judged by my father, by my father's family. There was not a lot of support. I only had a few handful of people that were very supportive during this transition for me. And once I was in LA working and dealing with that, so I started to deal with my own actual inner emotions. I started to listen. I started to hear, and just adventure. I had no other place or no other person to tell me what or how I'm doing things. And it was like liberating. It was truly liberating. I didn't have to follow the rules of filling my mom's shoes. I realized and I gave myself permission that it's okay, that I am my own person. My mom has left this earth, and she served her purpose. So I started to grieve. I started going through the stages of grief. Took me 2 years after, but I grieved and I traveled and I saw the world. And then in 2010, I had the opportunity to go to Hawaii to travel. And that's when I really connected to Mother Earth. Like seeing, it's so sad to hear the stories that are going on now in Hawaii with Mother Earth. To me, it's Mother Earth crying. To me, it's Mother Earth saying, like, look, I'm causing these disasters because the world needs to wake up. You guys need to see what's happening, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. I truly believe. And there's this connection I've had, like it's almost like an embodiment of my mother. I've kind of almost seen this motherly nurture that, only mothers can give, and this is how the earth is to me. So I fortunately lost my mom at a young age, but I've been able to feel the nurture from another place. And so being out in Hawaii, just being out in the middle of nowhere, completely quiet, and just seeing the change of seasons, or the trees, or the birds, the butterflies, and how a plant, opens up during sunrise and closes during sunset, and just seeing the delicacy of everything is just, to me, it's amazing, especially when the world's just going. And then kind of came back and lived in San Diego, and ever since, it's just been a slow process. It wasn't an overnight thing. I still was battling. I still went out with friends and had to detach myself from that, and realize and give myself permission that I'm outgrowing those friendships, that I'm outgrowing that state of life, and that it's okay, that it doesn't make me less of a person. Unfortunately, we were raised in a society where, like, if you detach yourself from something, it's like you're the oddball out, but growth is so important. I mean, we all want that. And it takes people, I've realized it takes people a different point in their life. It took me, at 24, what people have, it depends on what kind of experiences everybody has in their life, and I think it's beautiful. If we were all just evolving at the same pace, it wouldn't give it a dynamic or a dimension to the world. So yeah, I've been on this wellness journey and doing my nursing, and I started teaching. I took yoga in 2010. 2010 was a revolutionary year for me. That's when I kind of met Mother Earth, the soles of my feet. I feel like heart to heart, and I started my yoga practice and I really dove in. And it's funny how Instagram, like that's where I did my daily yoga challenges. I put myself out there, following Laura Skyra was the first person I was following and doing her daily challenges. And I learned so much with that, and then started taking yoga classes. And I won't forget, and this is for anybody that's out there listening, I always say it's never too late to start anything. If you say you wish, I wish I could be like that, or I wish I could have the courage to do it. There's no age. And I think people get lost in that like realm, like, oh, I'm too old to do that, or I'm too young to do that, or there's no limitation to that. Just get yourself in there. Even if it's with nobody. That's the biggest thing too, is that the fear of like being able to go places by yourself or do things by yourself, like on a hike or to the movies or to the beach. People find that so hard to do. It's like, yes, it's nerve-wracking, but once you're there, you break these layers of your skin and you unravel yourself, and it's truly amazing. And that's what growth is. It's unraveling those layers. And so I lost the train of thought. So basically, if you put yourself in that element, yoga. So I stepped onto my mat. I won't forget. It was a group on girlfriends. It was kind of our thing to do on Tuesday nights. And I won't forget, like I even walked in with shoes. I didn't know what the etiquette of the yoga studio was. Like, we'll go through those moments, but those are the moments that kind of, you look back now and I laugh, and it makes me more humble of the experience of somebody that walks in for the very first time into my yoga class, because I know how it felt, So I make sure to bring that welcomeness of everyone's new at something. We're not masters of anything. And if you are a master, then you're like Dalai Lama. So I actually embrace the beginning of things, because I like change. I need change. I've realized that change to me is so healthy. It's what took me out of my darkness. If I would have not made that change back at home, who knows where I'll be. But if I think about it, it wouldn't be a good place because of the direction I was headed, So change was necessary. So I feel like change is the only way to growth. Absolutely. And so after my yoga, I took my teacher training in 2012 or 13. Well, it was prior, 2013. I had a friend on Facebook who I went to high school with, and we used to do TV broadcasting together, and he had posted that he was going to the Grand Canyon. And I had just been in California for only, at this point, maybe a few years, and I'd just done local hikes and stuff. And this pulling, I hadn't talked to this guy. A pulling was like, I just typed and I was like, I'm in. He contacted me, we caught up, and I borrowed a bag from a friend. I bought some cheap hiking boots, and I went on this trip with a group of 4 of us. And that was life-changing. That was like, I had already been kind of integrating myself with nature here and there. But there was no actual, I hadn't realized the impact that it was doing to me. I loved it. There was something very nurturing when I would step out into, out in Hawaii or go on a hike on my own. It was nurturing. But when I went on this 5-night overnight camping to the depth of the canyon, and all you're listening to is your footsteps on Scrabble and rocks, and you're seeing this magnitude of Mother Earth, of years of rock that's been built there. It tells a story. I have always had an imagination. I was the young girl who loved Drop Dead Fred, and I had imaginary friends, and I would talk to myself in the mirror, and I still do, and I have no problem saying that. I have a very vivid imagination, so I would literally see these canyons like moving and talking to me, it almost cartoonish, and it was hard. It was hard. I won't forget the 2 nights prior, we got stuck hiking in the dark. When you realize the next morning that you've been walking on a ridge, very narrow ridge that's literally to your death if you make a wrong step. Just there's this sense of fear, but almost it breaks away that fear, if that makes any sense. Like there is fear in it, but when you've done it and you've stepped foot in it and you feel your heart palpitating, which it's something that's so innate in us. we're alive because our hearts are beating and our breath is ongoing. We don't think about those things. You know, our eyes blink, you know, when they need to blink. And, but yet those things we are able to control, like our breath. And when you actually listen to the heartbeat, it's the most invigorating and a reminder of how fragile life is and how good and grateful it is to be alive and to be able to use my senses on this earth to see, you know, and to smell and to be a part of it all, like of history. Like I am part of history. Like my footsteps have been treading on that rock now. And it's just, to me, that's magical. And it's worth the blisters at the end of my 5-day hike, you know, because you realize as the blisters go away and they heal, but what's inside and what you gain out of that experience is something that isn't part of my Gypsy bag. It's my like stories, and no one can never take that away from me, you know. And so I'm super adamant about, especially women, I'm gravitated towards sharing my story mostly with women about getting out there and stepping onto earth, whatever that is, into a part of nature, because nature's got, there's such a variety, there's a diversity of nature, you know. You're out in open fields, countryside, you know, where there's space and dirt roads for who knows how many miles, no neighbors, you know. And you found your element, you know. And that's what speaks to you. And there's the beach, it might not resonate with me, but the beach to someone, you know, seeing the water is what our bodies are made up of. And there's this tranquility, there's this in syncness. You know, I always say we are a small version of the earth, you know, water, we're composed of water, you know, we breathe, trees breathe. It's an exchange. Like, you know, I just started watching this documentary with Will Smith, One Rock, I want to say it's One Rock Stands. It's basically just a documentary about the earth. And it's so captivating because we don't realize it, that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these miraculous, and I call them beings because there is an exchange and they're growing. So there is organisms and cells that are making them alive. They might not communicate like me and you, but if you listen, they do. There is this inner voice, and we all have it. You know, so yeah, and so this brings me to out here. I'm in Grass Valley, California now. This is a part of my healing now. I needed it. I actually left after living in San Diego for a couple years to start a relationship back to Florida, back to my home. And I didn't realize going back would bring back and unravel a lot of the old that was there. It was like the old baggage I left, you know. I thought I had healed from all this, but you realize that you don't just forget about your past. And that's an important part. You don't forget about it. It's what's made me today. That story that I had and I carried for a long time, it's what's made me and allowed me to give me the privileges that I have today. So I honor it and I respect it. It's no longer a part of me, no longer me. It's still part of me, but it's no longer me who I am today. And today will be changing continuously. We'll meet again in 10 years and do this again, and who knows where I'll be. And that's the beauty. So I believe that you should just allow yourself to give yourself permission and forgive yourself for what has happened, but in gratitude for those moments, because it's what's made me, it's what's allowed me to step into the force, you know, and awakened me. There's been something so magical, and I'm grateful. Like it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be nature. There's something that awakens our soul, whether it's the art, but it's definitely something to do with like your physical matter, like either your arts, photography, something that you're so connected that takes you away from the time and, you know, days and the constant go of your head, you know? So.
Oh my gosh, I just love your story. And there's like so many nuggets. I've just been taking like notes, and there's just so many nuggets of wisdom. And I know everybody who listens is just going to be like, oh, I have to write that down. Oh, I have to remember that. And I think one thing that I really want to kind of revert back to is, because I also went through this, I I went through the wild and then found my way into a healing space, which happened to be, for me, it did end up being coming back home. For people who have kind of known me or followed, I was kind of all over Montana, California, and then coming back home, that's exactly how I felt. It was like I went through a summer that was a very healing space for me. And I kept remembering that when I was talking to people, I'm like, I just feel like I'm here and I'm healing. And it was so that connection with Mother Earth and that connection with nature and the space and the birds and the wind and like the sun on my skin. And I think that it is so important that we recognize that we all will go through a space of healing, but we have to hold that space to forgive and almost give ourselves permission to heal. Because the busy go of the life says you can't slow down, you can't heal, you have to keep going. Yeah. And you said something about you can start at any age. You can find your inner wild at any age. You can kind of start your healing at any age, truly. And I think that when we tune in and we realize that maybe we've landed in a healing space, or that our body is calling for a healing space, that's when, no matter how old, no matter what, it's a calling to move into that. And we have to remember that we're just spirits having a human experience. So Absolutely. The age doesn't matter.
No.
So finding that inner wild, what does that mean? You talk about it. It's so like intriguing. And my fiance Matt was like, what does that mean? And I was like, I can't wait to find out more. And I'll tell you. So kind of share with us what that means for you.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, right? When you think of the word wild, how it's defined, in the books, it's defined feral, undomesticated, unshackled, and to some people that could be worrisome. You think of like wild predators out in the wilds, or you think of it how I adapted it to at one point in my life in my 20s, out dancing, going crazy, uninhibited, not thinking and processing. And I've learned to capture the world or the word into my worlds now, into the nature, because when you go out into open space, into the wild, and I'm talking about the wilds, not your manicured park, and to say this, if that's what you have around you, it's still nature, because it's not an artificial tree. It's still real. The grass is real and your trees are real. They're manicured. And, they're planted by, because it's urban area, and I have nothing against that. It's still nature. So if that's what you have, find your healing space. But when you step out into the wild and you see what it does and how it acts and how it interacts with other, trees or plants, or how animals interact with certain trees. I mean, I've read a couple and seen some podcasts about, there is this freedom, this liberty to grow where you want to grow, to arch, the trees, they're always aiming for the sun, and they don't, they're not. This is an interesting fact that I forgot who the writer is, but it's Communication with Trees. I think his name is Peter. And he says, if you notice trees out in the wild, they never reach their branches out to cover other trees. It's a system, it's a community. And there's something so inviting to that, because you feel welcomed. When you're part of society, there's are they going to like me? Am I good enough? And we get in our heads, and you're always either trying to impress, or you're just trying to be you're trying something. And I mean, I think unless you really truly are living your truth, you can step away and not say like I live for such and such or my work, but there's always a trying. You're either trying to impress your boss at work, or you're trying to be the best mom you can, or you're trying something, and you're not being true to yourself. You're always putting something in front of you. So when you take yourself away from society's way of thinking, oh, you're 30 something, you should be married, you should have kids, where is your house, oh, you don't have a savings. I mean, I get this, I understand it, but when you're out there where there is no judgment, the wild plants are growing at their own pace. They're not competing with the flowers next to them, and you're seeing the seasons, because I believe that truly we are just like the earth. We're transitional human beings. We're seasonal beings. You know, there's moments of quietness that you need. There's moments of shining bright, of blooming. You know, we all need that. It's if we can sync ourselves to the rhythms of Mother Earth, it truly is magical. You know, and our system, our physical anatomy is kind of compromised, just the same as makeup is kind of like the earth. You know, I use the 5 elements. I teach this a lot in my yoga classes. A lot of my classes are earth infused, and what I mean by that is we've got some nadi, some energy points in our bodies and in our fingertips. So our thumb is fire, Agni, and you've got your pointer finger, which is air, which is the exchange of oxygen between us and the trees. You've got the third one is your middle finger. I'm sorry, yeah, your middle finger. It's space, and that's what we all need to create space. It's what allows us to grow, to heal. Then you've got our fourth finger is earth, and that's to ground, you know, to remind ourselves to ground. And then our pinky is water, and it's what we're mostly composed of. And it's a reminder to flow like water, you know. So those are the elements that I'm always reminding myself of and coming back to, and to feel in balance, you know. So our fire too is our Manipura chakra, where, you know, for women, it's the strong, it's the identity, it's that I am, you know. And so if you can just, you know, use these 5 elements as a reminder to sink in, and the earth is just as much, you know, you've got the fires that are going on in Hawaii right now. You've got the waters, you know, the overflooding also in Kauai. You've got overall earth. I mean, there's so much synchronicity between us and nature. And so if stepping out there into the wild and noticing its constant change, it's you know, you could see trees there standing forever, but they're constantly changing. They're enduring things. Fire, I mean, I was just up in the West Coast at the Redwoods Basin and seeing these huge trees, you know, they're so tall, and to be there for so many years, and they've endured climate change and fire and stuff. It's like, it's kind of us. We endure things in our life, barriers, challenges, but they're still there. They're growing. You know, there might be a time when their leaves have been shriveled, or they haven't produced any, you know, seedlings or anything, but they're still growing, you know? So that's what I feel like inner wild is. It's the feral. Oh, talking about inner wild, I just got approached by the neighbor cat. So yeah, feral, perfect cats, right?
Yeah, no, I was like, that was like the perfect synchronistic.
Perfect. This is Earth just talking. This is, I mean, if you just really notice the little things, it's the universe talking. They don't have to specifically talk in our language, but they talk. You just have to listen. So inner wild is really the depth of our core, which is the core of Mother Earth, and it's knowing that you can be free, unshackled, and be who you want to be without the ideas that have been embedded to us from either a lineage of family, our parents, oh, I'm doing this to please my father or my mother or my boyfriend, my husband. It's truly come connection to you, and truly feel empowering within yourself. Stand on your 2 feet and ground yourself, and be free. Without, you know, and it's hard when you, I mean, I step out into this world and it's like magic, you know, it's like a fairy tale. And then it's hard to come back into society, but we have to be, or that's part of the human experience. You know, you can't isolate yourself. But there are beings that are just in that same vibration that you are, you know, so that's the inner wild. It's just being free and, you know, without letting go of the ideas in your head and really connecting to the heart and the soul.
Mm-hmm. And I just love that it so ties back to Mother Nature. And like, I love that you say that we are little pieces of earth and that we are cultivated from this earth. And it's so true. And it's like, this idea of trying, like we're always trying because that's what we're programmed to do now, but that's not what we were cultivated. That's not where we were created from, this space of trying. So I remember going into Sequoia National Forest, and is that what you were referring to when you were in
Well,
Northern?
it's part of this, there's some sequoias, but yeah, it's all the
Yeah.
Northern Cal. Yeah.
And talk about just like standing there and on thinking like just that this tree has been around to endure more than we could ever imagine, and still here it stands, strength, but also scars, but kind of like this idea of this ebb and flow, and like this softness and this harshness, like these contradicting elements that you can see in this tree and that we can see in nature. And it truly did just give me this sense of freedom. And you know, people will sit there and say like, oh, I'm such a city folk, or like I don't really connect with nature in that way, but I truly believe that we all do. We just have to like allow that space, that healing space.
You have to step into it. I mean, I grew up in the city too, and this is for the city dwellers. Like, I mean, I'm not taking away, definitely not taking away that there are some people, they vibe, you know, and that's their true self. Like you're, you know, the city vibe, the noise, that noise can also be something that is very healing for somebody, you know, but you have to give yourself a chance to step into quiet. And that's what people fear. It's the quiet, because with the quiet comes a lot of like, oh my God, your own real deep thoughts, not superficial thoughts, like the real, true, deep thoughts start to come, and people can't handle that. And so you cannot heal when you cannot hear yourself, you know? So I grew up with the whole like lavish lifestyle, the Miami. I mean, I think I probably came out with high heels, you know, out of my mom's womb. You know, I did the whole J-Lo stage, you know, I tried to do the fitting in. I was born and raised in that culture, you know, and it wasn't until I got out of that element that I was able to connect and hear myself. I mean, I never wore a pair of hiking boots until I was like 20 something years old, you know, and my dad, he is where I take the adventure from. He, you know, my mom, not so much, but my dad was definitely, you know, he would be the one to take us out climbing. I lived in Germany for 9 months, and like, there was this definitely, he's connected to earth. And so there is a connection in my family, but and to some people, like you said, like you came out and you've kind of done your exploration, but you found your healing back at home. So it's not taking away that you have to actually physically move to find your healing. You know, it's finding the connection and the time for yourself to truly let go of the phone, let go of everything, the to-do list, everything, and step foot on the dirt. Like that is truly, and just be there in stillness. That in itself is meditation, you know, to connect with like this, like the birds in the sky. And like, we take this for granted. We take it for granted. You know, you're right now, you know, in the rain. It's moments like that are so tender. And that's what you talked earlier about, the softness in wild, right? Because at the end of it all, we are women. You know, and there is something so powerful and feminine and flowy, and but doesn't take away from the independence or the wild in you. Wild doesn't need to be this, super feministic woman. It's the softness, you know, that comes with it, you know, because Mother Earth is soft, you know. So, you know, I don't know. It's definitely, I think a takeaway is just give yourself permission to be out in space, and don't just try it one time, just small little baby steps, you know?
Yeah, actually this morning as I was walking outside, I was like, oh, this rain feels so good on my skin. And I think the thing that I really loved about it was the rain was soft, but it invigorated me. And that kind of like boost of energy felt like wild, felt alive. And like when I think of finding your inner wild, I feel like it's so tied to just like feeling alive. And when was the last time we felt truly alive?
Right. Yeah. Because every day you've got your things to do. You go from point A to point B. You don't even realize. I mean, this is another small step that you can do is you automatically know where you have your keys. You get into the car. You're thinking about 20 million things while you get to point A to point B to work. Sometimes you ask yourself, How many red lights did you pass? Did you notice the trees along the side? You don't realize these things because you're so on autopilot. We are humans that are on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Take a different detour to work. You know, wake up 5 minutes earlier just so you can sit outside in your porch that you probably haven't used in a long time to go and sit and have coffee. I mean, it's the smallest changes, but it's being out and like actually, instead of, you know, put down the windows while you're driving. Like, okay, feel the cool breeze in the morning. You know, feel the heat. Allow the heat, the humidity to kind of, you know, seep into your pores. I mean, that is, like you said, it awakens the cells. There's definitely a connection between the elements of the earth and in your own body, that you kind of awaken something deep inside.
I think it's kind of this, it's interesting because you even defined what wild is defined as. And so, and speaking of, my hair is a little wild today,
I
but
love it.
yeah. And so I think one thing that when I talk to people or I have friends that I have in mind that might be kind of like afraid of that chaos and that unorganization of being wild. And I think, again, it's like we have to have the yin and the yang in everything we do. But something that we have to realize is that like our minds are chaos. We love to be organized, but our minds are so chaotic. And so first of all, we have to remember that and be like, we can actually calm down that chaos, that monkey mind, by connecting to our wild. And so it's more of like this organic wild. But for people who think like finding your inner wild, like that just doesn't resonate with me because I don't like chaos and I don't like unorganization.
But it's not.
How can you speak to them and share that with
Yeah,
them?
it's not unorganized. On the contrary, it is organized. It's raw. It's you know now, especially now, like, you know, the highlight of food, right? Like, what's the purest of the purest of the purest? Like, the wild is the purest that you can get. It's like raw, organic. There's non-synthetic. It's like, it is the earth from the core of the earth, lifting up and bringing you this life that, you know, like I said, like, it's different when you're thinking of a park, right? Everything's, you know, manicured, and you've got your you know, lawnmower and all that stuff. It's cookie cuttered, you know. Yeah, it's synthetic. It's synthetic in the sense that, I mean, it's still grass and trees, but it's catered, you know. If you're out in the total mist of the wild, even like in the beach, to me, the beach is still wild because you can't control the water. You know, the tides are coming in as they come in. You know, you look at we went out during hurricane season, and, you know, we were the crazy people to go out to the beach during the storm to go see the water. And it was, I mean, it was roaring, and you can hear it and you can feel it, this vibration, you know, and it is at its rawest, purest form, you know. So the wild, the unorganized, it's not unorganized. Actually, it is very organized because it is thriving off its natural habitat. It's not, you know, what we have, the organization skills, that OCD, the having to do. That's unorganized. That is like cluttered, you know.
Yes.
It's a cluster that does not need, you don't need, you know. Number one silent killer is stress, by the way, you know. And that's cluster, because you don't have to check off the list. You don't have to get to like, oh my God, I didn't do like number 10. And now here goes your another week, and here goes another 24 hours of your day, of your life, that you just spent because you didn't do X, Y, Z. That, I'm sorry, you can't take with you on the grave, you know? So, I mean, the real, the raw, when we leave our, I had one of my herbal teachers tell me, this is our meat suit. We're wearing our meat suit, you know? And when you like leave this body, and I believe that your soul continues. And that's the purpose of life, is to connect with your soul, because this all will just be a demise at the end, you know, our pretty hair and all that stuff. It's all going, but your soul truly finding the whole purpose of your life, and the root, that seed, that wild seed, you know, wants to grow. You know, you have to give it love and tenderness, and allow it to just kind of grow on its own pace, at its own rhythm. You have to understand it yourself. You have to understand it from your brain status, right? You know, to connect to the soul, to really know what really really awakens you, awakens your soul. And the only way I feel truly again is getting out of your head and walking deep into the wild, into that state of being. And perhaps it works best for me because I'm a visual person, so I have to actually step out into it and see it and observe it with my own eyes, smell it, hear it, feel it, I'm putting all my senses into it, to actually be captivated and know the true core of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. I just want to, like, we can sit here and we can talk circles around like what is your inner wild and everything like that, but it's, when it comes down to it, it's just a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose to let your spirit fly, let your spirit awaken, let your spirit be wild. And I think I find myself and many of my clients just asking them over and over, like, how do you want to show up? How do you want to react? Like, we take so much serious, but what if we just like laughed more?
Yeah, let it be.
Let it be. And just let that, like, the more we laugh and the more that we play, because wild and play for me also go hand in hand. So
absolutely.
Like, how can you play every single day to cultivate more of that wild? And that becomes just a choice. Because yesterday I worked from home. I had a million things to do, but I actually, and sometimes we have to plan out our moments to connect with Mother Nature and to allow our wild to open up. And so I literally just put in my schedule 3 different times where I went outside, I felt my skin and the sun connect. I heard the birds, I stood barefoot, and I just like reconnected. And it's like those moments where I just felt that fire like light back up.
Yep.
And I think it's so when we were talking about like the Mother Nature, or the finding your wild, it's not chaos. Like, it's actually organized. And I remember and I think it's maybe medicinal traditionals that have like the tea with the little sayings. And there's one saying on there, and it's something about like Mother Nature is not like, or there is organization in Mother Earth or something like along those lines. And it's true. Like when you said at the beginning, just watching a flower open up and close, like that is just organization at its finest, right?
Super finest. We came into this earth to create chaos. We're the ones building and creating more, yes, technology, and there's all these advancements, but we're complicating things. When things were just at its own, like, how do the animals know when to hibernate and when to come out, and they know where to get their food from, their sources, and that's all they're focused on, and that's it, and we need to come back and root down to that, because that's the natural flow of things versus everything else that we create the chaos and the drama and all that stuff, and you had mentioned about how you step in, we continue going back and forth because it's so hard to just define inner wild, right? Like, okay, because that's what you're used to. You want a definition, hard on definition. Here it is, wrapped up in a little pink bow. Go and buy your elixir of inner wild. I mean,
yeah, there we go. We're on to something.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could make millions out of that.
No, you got to go out there and in human form that you're here and explore it, and listen and know that there's 2 distinctness, right? There's the head constant go, and then there's this inner voice that's so soft, it's so subtle. You can sit and stare at a flower all day long and you'll notice the subtleness of just a leaf popping up open or flower. I mean, you can pass by it every day and you're like, oh, it's the same flower, but if you sit with it, you'll notice the subtle changes. And that's exactly how we are too. You just have to give it that space and quietness. Like you said, you might think it's chaos, but it's actually organized. It's telling you. I thought of something when you were talking about, like, when you decide, you're talking to your clients and you're asking, like, what is it that you want? We get so caught up in our mind, like, because we don't know what to do if we didn't have an answer. And that's the problem. Like, everyone wants an answer, a quick fix. I get it with my patients. Like, I'm in pain. Instead of rather understanding where their pain's coming from and what's it caused. I'm not talking about trauma, losing a leg. I'm talking about, like, you're coming in for a heart pain or a head pain. Like, where's it coming from? Like, what could have caused it? So taking that moment to really listen rather than just be like, well, I think I want to do this and I want to do that. But like you said, you need to take 5 minutes to go out in nature, and okay, it can only be 5 minutes. And no, let go of what it needs to look like or what it needs to be, and just be. Like, if you're in the 5 minutes outside in nature and all of a sudden your brain's like, well, I have to go do these tasks and do these tasks, let them go, let it flow, and then venture off and see where your body leads. Because your body will, there is this innate compass inside us that will just be like, you know what, I kind of want to go left and see where that takes me, you know, or wow, let me go smell that flower. Like, just listen, I mean, it's magic. It's truly magic.
Oh, I love it, isn't it? So what about those people who say like, I'm bored, or use that card?
Yeah, right. The I'm bored card, right? Like, I'm sitting here, and because now you're in your head thinking, what am I going to get out of this? What am I going to get out of this? Expectation, right? It's either I'm not good enough or my expectations are too high. Now you're thinking, okay, I'm doing this inner wild thing. I'm looking around. Cool. This bird, the sun, whatever. And you're on this constant go because you're expecting this response, this immediate response, this need, this just to feel something. I feel, and I can speak for myself. My expectations are pretty high. You know, when I went on the hiking trip, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to these, you go to like, I'm going to go down to the canyon, right? That's my expectation. That's my goal. Like, I did it. And then when I get down to the canyon, I mean, my feet are fucking blistered, and I'm like walking, and the Colorado River is fucking freezing. It's cold. I'm, you know, my fire's not lighting, and all these challenges, right? And you're like, why did I even do this? Like, why? But let me tell you, when you go up to the top, that euphoric feeling of everything, and it took me like, I'm on that high for like almost 2 weeks of like after exploring, because it wasn't the fact that I was down in the Colorado River and it was cold and it was all these things, because it is miserable. It is miserable, but it's the euphoric feeling of the after, that that my body was able to endure that I was able to shut off the brain and to experience my body and connect all 3 points, right? My body and spirit. And what I got in return, this euphoric feeling, this openness, this expressiveness. And there's always a lesson to be learned of my capacity, whether it's a physical capacity of letting go of something, you know, that story that you keep on telling yourself and be like, really? Is it really worth it? It took me 5 days to get down to the canyon. And I'm talking about the drama with the boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend. Is it really worth it? And you learn to let go and truly define what really matters in your life. So that's another key component of, you know, of why I seek these elements, because they're not easy, you know, and who says that easy is fun? You know, you want a little challenge, because it's those challenges and those barriers that really unravel the best in us.
I think this kind of reminds me of actually Coley Volpiani, who we interviewed in a previous podcast when I was working with him, and we were talking about just this idea of like, I need to be doing this, or having these feelings of like anxiety. He said, just stop and ask yourself, like, or just stop and say, but everything is okay. And like, I think that when you are in, and obviously we are going to encourage our listeners to get their butts outside, whatever that means to them, whether it's, you know, in the city, or whether it's whatever lights you up, and just be with, you know, be on the earth. And then just ask yourself, everything is okay right now. Like, when those thoughts of those, I need to do this, or I'm expecting this or that, just slow it down and just say, everything is okay right now. Or maybe if the fire doesn't start, or the river's cold, it's like, it's all okay. Like, it's all okay. So one last thing that we always like to ask is, what is one thing, and we've kind of given lots of little good tips. It's been amazing, but that our listeners can start doing today that really helps them to cultivate or connect with their inner wilds?
Okay, well, besides number 1, which is remove your shoes, remove your socks. I'm not talking about walking barefoot in your house. I'm talking about in the dirt, in the grass, in the sand, in the water. Choose your whatever 5 elements speaks to you, whether it's the water, whether it's fire, you know, earth, dirt, ground, whatever it is. And just be. allow yourself to just completely take in a deep breath in. And the breath is such a magical place too.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's so innate, but it truly is transformational, and something that I dive deep in with my yoga students. If you actually pay attention of how amazing our bodies are, is like we take a breath in, there's actually this sweet pause, which I call it the death, and then you exhale and let go. So take the deepest breath that you can and really embrace all the senses and expand. When you think you can't expand anymore, take a little bit, sip more air in, and then don't try to hold it. It actually, your breath has a innate time pause, and that's just a reminder that everything in life needs this little pause. It's like a rebirth. And on the exhale, open mouth and just let it go, and watch your shoulders relax, your arms relax, your everything relaxes, and you're just there. Everything else will be there when you get back. I promise you, it isn't going anywhere. But that moment that you have right there, 5 deep, solid breaths, foot grounded into whatever aspect of earth you want to connect with, watching the water and the tide just flush down on your ankles, or your feet sink into sand, or the dirt, or, grass, whatever it is, allow yourself and then do a body scan from toes all the way to the crown of your head, and just giving yourself complete gratitude for connection, and then for the rest of your body. It's so healing. And just even those 5 breaths and tuning in will give you the sense you'll awaken something. I promise. And if you guys can contact me and let me know how it was for you, because it's just a snippet of opening a door, or unraveling that soul, that awakening, that, and giving that space for your soul to be wild, to be free. And again, the word is so, to me, I connect with the word wild so much. It's like I can wrap myself in it because it's so cozy, yet so free with wings. I mean, it's such a flow with the word. It's a magical word. So get out there, breathe in, and experience what life is around you. That's happening on a constant, changing and evolving and growing with the seasons. And it's there in exchange for love and nurture for you.
Oh, I love that. And I think there's one thing that I want to share, or just say with our clients or our listeners too, is that it doesn't have to be like in the Sequoia National Forest. It doesn't have to be like, it can literally be if you live in an apartment and you have this tiny little square of grass and the sun is shining or it's raining, and you can just step out and like you can experience that there too. So don't feel like you have to. I mean, if you can drive out somewhere and find like space or hike a mountain, that's great too. But don't feel like, well, I don't really have that, so I'm just dismissing this. It's right there for you.
Nature is around us all. If you're here on Earth and you're not on any other planet listening to us, then you have Earth around you. You've got the sun, you've got the sky, you've got the rain, you've got the trees, or you don't live in an area where there's trees because you're a city dweller. Buy a plant. Buy a plant next to your bedside, so every morning you see it, and just complete gratitude, because that exchange, you guys are getting an exchange of oxygen. If it wasn't for trees, you wouldn't be getting, they transform carbon dioxide into oxygen. Like, I mean, how much more magical is that? So gratitude of, you don't have to go to these amazing national forests, parks, or anything, but if you do get a chance, if it's one thing on your bucket list, do it. But yeah, just get out, feel the sun, and really admire. I mean, people are like, oh, I hang out by the pool and I like enjoy the sunbathing. Are you really connecting with that sun? Are you feeling how the sun kisses your skin? I mean, it's just this intimacy. It's truly an intimacy.
So beautiful. I love it all. Thank you so much, Mai. This was
Thanks, Kylie.
So good. Is there anything that you want to share with our listeners for where they can find you on social media, or anything that you have going on to promote?
Sure. You guys can follow my adventures now now that I'm staying up in North Cal. And I'll be taking a trip up to Oregon and everything through my Instagram at gypsynai.com. That's GYPSYNAI. And then on my websites, gypsynight.com. And it's right now it's kind of, I'm still kind of integrating a couple pieces. So you might find yourself on a, come back, but you can put your email so you can get updates on my newsletter. Cause my hopes is to do some more retreats connecting with Earth.
Awesome. I know we are like through all of our podcasts, we're just like pulling together all of like these people for retreats. We're going to have like an amazing big Love Rising retreat eventually.
Love. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Nye. It's been
Thanks,
such an
Kylie.
honor to have you. And I know our listeners are going to love this.
Yeah, I'm amazed. Good luck.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't stop the recording. I'm pretty sure Claire is gonna have to. I'm gonna see. She might have texted me.
Okay.
No, that's okay.
Oh my God, that was so flowing and so I feel so good.
Please request. What's that?
I said I feel so good. That was just so flowy and stuff.
You
that
were
was amazing. That was so good. It just felt good. Thank you.
Yes, I know. That was probably one of the most fun. It was just fun. It was just so fun.
It was, I think about, I'm like, man, maybe what helped is the fact that like, there's already a connection and there's already like this groundiness with, versus like, not that I would have not connected with you, but it was just perfect. It was like, perfect.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's so fun because I've done just like, I think I was on one podcast and it was like a different experience to be on the other side. And it is fun. And when you get done, you just feel like, yay. So
yeah, we're not used to talking about ourselves like often, or like even reliving moments. And you're like, man, it gives you space to like give yourself permission to be like, I've done a lot of stuff. Like I'm here for a reason. And there's this inviting sense of gratitude for yourself that you don't need reassurance from anybody else, but you're giving it to yourself. Hearing yourself, it's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah.
Yes. Oh, it was amazing. You did so great. I hope you
thank you.
A good, much knowledge, but
awesome. Thank you so much. When do you plan to, what do you guys do as far as?
Yeah. So we will now, since you sent me the high-res photos, we'll create like a social media thing, which you can use. And then I'll send it over. I think we're 2 weeks out.
Okay.
So I think yours will launch in 2 weeks so we are actually, let me share this with you because, if you would be interested in collaborating, we are starting a membership site. And I wonder if actually yours might be paused because we want to use it for our membership site. So, I'm going to put this in the chat and you can check it out. But basically, our membership site is just creating it's called The Gathering, and it's just creating like a space for women to listen, watch, and then connect. And so they'll pay I think it's $37 or $49 per month. And then they listen to, we have like a theme for each month. And so we then have them listen, and then we have like a coaching call at the beginning and a coaching call at the end. And we review the podcasts and kind of go further into them.
Yeah.
So what we're doing actually is for all of our podcast guests, if you want to help promote it, which it's completely up to you if you feel in sync with it.
Yeah.
Then you will get a free for life membership, and then you'll get you can get a discount code for your followers and
cool.
All
that Are you guys doing it through Patreon?
Through what?
Patreon?
What's that?
Oh, the membership thing, or what site are you not doing?
We just built it on Squarespace.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Patreon.
Patreon's actually pretty cool. It's another site that basically same thing, kind of membership, and then you kind of do different categories. So basically if you just want to listen to the podcast, it'd be $5.99, and if you want a full access, you can kind of create different packages so that there's different, it's not only a one price point. If you just want to listen to one podcast, you can pay for that one podcast, or a membership gets all these exclusives which you can do your counseling in, or something else. Because the Gypsy Flow Yogi or something that I follow had it, and I was trying to create, because social media is the digital world. It's a tug of war, dude. It's a tug of war for me. It's so hard, and I'm trying to be receptive, and then I'll have my waves. There's definitely no consistency with me. And again, that's my raw, and like, if I feel
Oh,
like it, I feel like it. And if
that
I
makes
don't, I
me feel
don't.
so good because I am right there with you and I struggle and because it's just like, I just like, I like the privacy and like,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
because I feel more connected when I'm private a little bit. So,
Yep.
oh, it's so
Yeah.
nice to hear that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, and again, it's the stigma. It's the stigma and the culture that they've been creating. Like, if you want to, right? If you want to shine, you gotta da 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 da, one post, da da da. And like, I started reading all these algorithms, and it gave me a headache. I was like, no, I don't want to follow algorithms. That's not who I am. Whoever follows me, it's at their own calling and at my own pace, you know. So it's this like in and out, right, of feeling, and then the intimacy. You know, when I do get very vulnerable, and it's hard to expose yourself, right, because you're open to whoever sees it. And then again, there's this judgment too, because then I get like people that I see on my stories that are looking at my stories that don't connect with me, like that I don't connect, that are just people from past experiences that I just have had some sort of, you know, disconnect. And then I'm like, well, now I'm sharing because I know that they're nosy to know what's going on, especially now that happened with the whole relationship thing. Like, everybody wants to know, and this, you know, and so there's this like lack of intimacy and, you know, a pull and tug of like, so then I was thinking of doing the Patreon. Like, I'm like, those that want to do and really connect, that I'm going to be sharing these vulnerable stories and stuff. It's for people that really, that have been on my journey, you know? So, but again, that's something that I got to learn how to let go, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like, this is the world this is the generation we're in. And if you're going to, you can't pick and choose, you know, like, it's either you are who you are and allow those judgments to be made, but that's you projecting, right? You know, you don't know, maybe there's something that they're gaining out of it or something. So yeah, so it's definitely a pull and a tug. I was like, I want to get off Facebook too. Like,
I know.
it's hard.
Yeah, it is. I know. But
But I
I think
think, as you say, as you balance, you know, you balance and you stay true to yourself. Like, you know, you don't feel like posting, you don't feel like posting. You're not there to get this, like, you're not there to get the gains of like that reassurance from, at least we know that we're not like feeding off this, you know. It's like,
right.
no, disconnect, go feed
Yep.
my own soul.
Yes. Yeah. Especially, well, for up here because it's like finally summer. I think I like have been able to step more into that and feel okay with that a little bit more because I like probably because just connecting with Mother Nature is like finally
Yeah.
for sure I can be outside without like 10 layers on and
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I completely agree. Oh,
I'm so happy I got to see your face.
I know this was awesome. Well, thank you so much. And then
Awesome.
I'll send a follow-up email with all the information. But
Okay.
you are amazing. Clara is just
Uh,
gonna like freak. She's gonna be like, when can we do another one? So yeah,
awesome.
you guys will
All
meet
right.
soon. But yes.
Kisses, girl. Thank you
Yes.
so much. All
Sending so
right.
much love.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.